The good news? I didn't sleep with him. The bad news? Yeah, I didn't sleep with him. And if you've ever stood across from Asher Vale, New York's most dangerously attractive nightmare in a suit tailored to ruin women, you'd understand what a Herculean act of restraint that was. The first time I met him, he looked at me like I was already his, like I'd walk across the room, hand him my number, and beg to be ruined. Instead, I nearly choked on my drink and muttered something brilliant like, "Cool party." Real smooth. He smirked, like he knew, like he could smell the chaos he'd just activated in my body. And then he walked away. Didn't say a word. Didn't need to. His eyes had already done the talking. Eyes that said, "I could wreck you in ways you didn't know you wanted." And for 3 weeks, I told myself that was it. Until he showed up at my office, sitting in my father's chair, like he owned the place. Because technically, he was about to. "Asher Vale," he said, standing up like he was being generous by acknowledging me. "We finally meet again." I stood there, arms crossed, spine straight. "Get out of my chair." "It's not yours," he said. "Yet?" That was the moment I realized this wasn't some flirtation gone cold. This man, this devil in Armani, was here to take everything my family had built. My company, my legacy. And he didn't even blink when he said it. "I'm making your board an offer," Asher said, voice like molasses over ice. "One they'll be stupid to refuse." I should have slapped him. I wanted to. Instead, I smiled. "Then I guess you haven't met me yet?" He tilted his head, eyes dragging down me like a slow caress. "No," he murmured, "not properly." There it was again, that crackle, like static before a storm. That was supposed to be the end of it. War declared, lines drawn. Except the next morning, he showed up at my apartment. No flowers, no apology, just a smirk and a ridiculous proposition. "I need a girlfriend," he said. I stared at him, incredulous. "Excuse me?" "For 6 weeks. Appearances, press, my mother's gala, the works." I blinked. "You're high." He leaned against my doorframe like he belonged there, like he belonged everywhere. "If you agree," he said slowly, "I'll drop the acquisition." I should have laughed, slammed the door. Instead, my mouth opened. "Why me?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Because no one would believe I could fake wanting you." My stomach dropped. Not because it was an insult, because it was a lie. Because I'd seen the way he looked at me. And he wanted me. Bad. But I was a New York girl, and I knew better than to trust beautiful men with sharper smiles than knives. So I said, "Fine. But there are rules." He nodded once. I said, "No kissing." He said, "Sure." I said, "No sex." His mouth curved, "If you say so. And if you try to take my company out from under me, I swear to God, I'll ruin you." That made him grin, big and wide. Now that's the woman I picked. So, we shook on it, leaving me standing there, hot, angry, shaking, because I wanted him to. More than I wanted my pride. More than I wanted to be right. More than I wanted control. But I also wanted to win. And with Asher Vale, winning meant never letting him know how close I was to breaking. The next event was dinner with his investors at Cipriani. Private room, low lights, and somehow he picked a booth, which meant we sat next to each other, too close. His leg against mine, his cologne wrecking my ability to think. He poured my wine himself, laughed at my jokes again, slipped his hand casually around the back of the booth just high enough to make me aware of every single nerve in my shoulder blade. I hated him. God, I wanted him. And then he leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Are you going to keep pretending you don't feel this?" I turned to face him, eyes narrowed. "This is business," I hissed. He smirked. "So is negotiation." "This isn't a negotiation." "Then what is it?" I had no answer. But later that night, I dreamed of him. And when I woke up, his name was still on my lips. And there it was again, that shift in the air, that pull I couldn't explain. The second his hand brushed mine, I jerked away like I'd been burned. "Asher, I haven't kissed you," he said softly, "even though they're expecting it, even though I want to." My heart slammed into my ribs. "We made rules." He nodded. "And I followed them. Barely." His voice dipped. "I haven't touched you. I haven't crossed the line. You're dancing on it." He stepped closer. "Then push me back." I didn't. And that terrified me. We left before dessert. In the car, silence hummed like tension, winding itself tighter with every breath. My skin buzzed, my body ached in places I didn't want to admit. And he just sat there, calm, composed, watching me out of the corner of his eye like he could feel me unraveling. Back at my place, I fumbled for the keys, hands slightly shaking. He leaned against the doorframe again, same pose as last time, except now I'd seen him in action, seen how he looked at me when no one else was watching. "Good night," I said quickly. He didn't move. "I didn't touch you tonight." I turned. "Congratulations?" "But I wanted to." He stepped forward, 1 inch. 2. "I wanted to drag you into the bathroom at that gala and kiss you until you forgot your own name." My breath caught. "But I didn't," he said, voice dark, "because you told me not to." And then he stepped back. "I'll see you at the board meeting." And just like that, he walked away. And that was the beginning of the end, because pretending to love someone like Asher Vale is dangerous. But pretending not to want him? That might be impossible. The first test was a charity gala. Black tie, midtown, flashbulbs, fake smiles. My dress was fitted enough to make a statement. Deep wine red. Backless. Asher's idea, of course. "It says you're mine," he said, zipping it up himself without being asked. I tried to breathe, but his hands were still on my spine. "We're pretending," I said. He stepped back, his eyes dragging down my body like a slow, indulgent sip. "Exactly." I didn't look at him during the car ride. I couldn't, because I could still feel the heat of his fingers on my skin, still feel the ghost of his breath near the nape of my neck. The world might have bought the act, but my body? My body wasn't pretending. The cameras were already flashing when we stepped out of the car. Asher took my hand like he'd done it 1,000 times, his fingers wrapped around mine, firm and possessive. "Smile," he murmured. I did. Barely. Inside, we mingled. He whispered names in my ear before we approached anyone, leaned in close like we were sharing something private. He laughed a little too genuinely at my sarcasm, touched my back when we passed through tight spaces, and everyone watched, and everyone believed, because of how he looked at me, not just with hunger, but with something dangerously close to fondness, like I was a secret he planned to keep. "You're good at this," I said under my breath after the third conversation with billionaires who smelled like cigars and self-importance. He turned toward me, just slightly, like no one else in the room mattered. "I'm not pretending." I froze, then smiled sweetly for the couple walking by. Asher, do not make this harder than it has to be. His gaze dropped to my mouth, then lower. That's not up to me. So I did the only logical thing. I texted him, "Stop looking at me like you want to devour me." His reply was immediate. "What if I do?" There's a point where chemistry stops being theoretical. A look that holds too long, a breath taken too close, and then there's this. Asher Vale's hand on the small of my back as we step into a Manhattan townhouse dressed up for a charity art auction. His fingers brush just barely along the exposed skin of my waist as he guides me forward, and my spine straightens like he's lit a fuse. He knows what he's doing. He always knows. And tonight, I'm not sure if I can keep pretending that it doesn't undo me. Inside, it's all sculpted decadence, gold accents, exposed brick, candlelight flickering off martini glasses. We play our parts. Smile, pose, talk to people who only want to be seen. But I feel him behind me the entire time. When I laugh, his eyes are already on my mouth. When I turn, he's always a step closer than he should be. I tell myself I'm imagining it, until I catch him watching me from across the room, jaw tense, fists clenched. He looks like he's trying not to do something, or maybe trying not to want something. I'm halfway through a conversation with a gallerist when I feel his hand again, this time at my hip. No excuse. No crowd to press us together. Just him touching me because he can. Because I let him. "I need a minute," he says softly, low enough only I can hear. He doesn't ask. He walks, expecting me to follow. And I do. Down a hallway, through a door, we end up in a guest bedroom, all polished wood and velvet drapes. The door clicks shut behind me. I turn. What the hell was that? He moves slowly, deliberate, like a man approaching fire. "You're doing it again," I snap. His brow lifts. "Doing what?" "That look." "What look?" "The one that makes my knees forget how to work." He stops just in front of me. "So stop looking." "I can't." Neither of us moves. The silence is thick, heavy, laced with the electric tension that's been building for days. He breathes out, like he's been holding it in too long. "I lied," he says. My stomach flips. "About what?" "I can't fake this." Then he leans in. Not all the way, just enough that his breath grazes my cheek. "If I touch you right now, there's no going back." My heart hammers, my legs beg me to let him. But my pride? My pride is screaming. I shake my head. "Don't!" He nods, jaw clenching. "Say it again." "Don't!" His hand brushes mine. "Say it like you mean it." I don't. And when he closes the last inch between us and kisses me, it's not soft. It's not sweet. It's months of denial, weeks of proximity, days of pretending. It's rough and desperate and full of all the things we swore we wouldn't feel. My fingers are in his hair before I can stop myself. His hands grip my hips like he's trying to memorize the shape of me. I don't remember walking backward, but suddenly I'm against the wall, dress hitched, thigh pressed between his. His mouth is hot, searching. His body, all hard lines and ruthless need. "Asher!" I gasp against his lips. "Still want me to stop?" he growls. I don't answer. Because I don't want him to. Because I haven't wanted him to stop since the second I met him. And that's the truth I've been hiding. The truth he's been teasing out of me since day one. He kisses down my neck like he's angry with himself, like every inch of skin is a battle he's losing. And I want to let him lose. I want to let myself lose. But somewhere between the moan that slips from my lips and the way he groans in response, reality crashes back in. This isn't just desire, it's danger. Because I'm falling and I don't trust him to catch me. I pull back, breathless. We can't. He stares at me, chest rising hard. We already did. No, I shake my head, sliding out from under him. This wasn't part of the deal. He laughs, bitter. Neither was wanting you. I swallow hard. His hair's a mess, his tie's undone, his shirt is half unbuttoned, and I did it. I did that. And I want to do it again, but I can't. Don't look at me like that, I whisper. He steps closer again, eyes dark. Like what? Like you want to keep me. He stops. His expression shifts. You think I don't? You want to win. You want control. That's all this is. He looks wounded, but not surprised. You really believe that? I nod, because if I don't, I'll fall apart. Because if I admit that maybe he wants more, then I have to admit I do too. And that's not safe. That's not allowed. He runs a hand through his hair, stepping back. His voice drops. This is real for me. I hate that I want to believe him. I hate that my body already does. I need space, I say quietly. He nods, his jaws tight. For now, he says. But this isn't over. And as I walk away, I know he's right. Because that kiss, it wasn't just lust. It was a promise, a beginning. And I'm already in too deep. I avoided him for 3 days. No texts, no meetings, no eye contact at the boardroom table. Not even a nod when he passed me in the hallway of the building my name was still barely clinging to. I pretended I didn't notice the way he always seemed to show up exactly where I was. The elevator, the sidewalk, the cafe across the street that he's never once stepped foot in until now. We were still dating for the press, still playing house for investors, still on track to survive this whole twisted arrangement. But the second his mouth met mine in that bedroom, we stopped pretending. And that made everything dangerous. Because the moment you admit you want someone like Asher Vale, you've already lost. I told myself I was being smart, pulling back before things got worse. But the truth, I didn't trust myself not to do it again. And worse, I didn't trust him not to mean it. Because Asher wasn't just playing games anymore. Not when he looked at me like that. Not when he kissed me like something he'd been dying to have, finally belonged to him. And now he was everywhere. Saying nothing, but staring. Like he could still feel the taste of me on his tongue, like he wasn't done. And I hated that I wasn't either. The tension cracked wide open the night of his mother's gala. It was the final big test. We were supposed to look like love incarnate, elegant, effortless, devoted. Instead, we barely made it through the front doors before the heat between us started simmering under our skin again. He looked too good. Midnight black tux, cufflinks with my initials etched into them, a silk pocket square the exact color of the lipstick I'd worn the night he kissed me. Intentional. Everything with Asher was intentional. Smile, he whispered at my ear as the cameras snapped. I smiled. I also stepped on his foot. He laughed under his breath. You miss me that much?" I didn't answer. I couldn't, not without choking on it. Inside, the ballroom was carved from old money and high expectations. String quartet, champagne towers, women in gowns that cost more than rent in half the city. And Asher's hand never left me. Not once. It was possessive, soft, restraining. Every time I tried to move, he was there. Every time I tried to catch my breath, he'd lean in and say something like, "You're still pretending not to want me?" Or, "Should we sneak off again, finish what we started?" I smiled through it all, but I was coming undone. Halfway through dinner, he dropped his hand to my thigh under the table. Slow, teasing, dangerous. I grabbed my fork tighter. "Stop," I hissed. "You want me to." "I want you to leave me alone." He turned his head, mouth to my ear. Liar. I shoved my chair back and stood. The bathroom was a blur. I stared at myself in the mirror, hands braced on the sink, heart slamming. "This isn't you," I told myself. "You're not some girl who falls apart over a man with a jawline that could file steel." But the second I closed my eyes, I saw him. The way he'd looked at me after that kiss, not cocky, not smug, just racked. Like kissing me had cost him something. When I opened the door, he was standing there, waiting, silent. His eyes met mine, and something in me shattered. "Asher," I said, voice low. He didn't move. "I don't want to feel like this," I whispered. He stepped forward, slowly, carefully. "But you do." I shook my head. "This is supposed to be fake." He touched my face, just once. "So stop feeling." My breath caught. "I can't." He exhaled like I'd punched him. And then he kissed me again, slower this time, softer, but somehow deeper. Like he wasn't asking for my body, he was begging for my permission. And I gave it, right there in the hallway, where anyone could have seen, where his mother could have walked around the corner, where everything could have exploded. Because when his hands tangled in my hair and I melted into his chest, I didn't care about rules anymore. I cared about him. And that scared the hell out of me. We left early. Back at my place, I expected him to follow me inside. He didn't. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. I froze. His hands were in his pockets, his shoulders tight. "I didn't just choose you for this arrangement because of the way you look." I frowned. "I know your company's in trouble." My stomach dropped. I made the first offer because it was a smart acquisition, but I backed off the second I saw what you were trying to do. He looked up. "I've been watching you work for months. Not just tonight, not just since the fake dating thing started. Before." I swallowed. "So this was all, what, strategy?" He flinched. "It was interest, then respect, then—" He looked down. "Then I was just looking for a reason to talk to you." I turned away, heart hammering. "I don't know if that makes this better or worse." "I didn't lie to you," he said quickly. "I never touched your company after the deal. I never pulled any strings. But I know things. I have connections. And if you're in real trouble, I can save myself," I snapped. He nodded. "I know." I stared at him. This man, this impossible man. He had more power than anyone I'd ever met. And somehow, tonight, he looked small, vulnerable, honest. "Good night, Asher," I said. But this time, I meant it like a question. And when I shut the door, My chest hurt in a way I couldn't explain, because this wasn't just about chemistry anymore. This was the moment where I had to ask myself, what if I already fell? And what if he's the only one who knows how to catch me? I didn't hear from him for 5 days. Not a call, not a text, not a silent glance across the boardroom. And I told myself I was fine with that I wanted space, that I needed clarity, that the silence was a gift. But the silence hurt worse than anything he'd said. Because for all our rules, all our posturing, we'd crossed the line, and neither of us had figured out how to come back. I was halfway through ripping apart an investor deck at 2 in the morning when the alert popped up on my phone. News article. Vale Industries in talks to fund female-led expansion initiative. I clicked. And there it was. My company. My name. A 6-figure investment spearheaded by Asher Vale. With one quote, "Some people are worth betting on, even when they don't know it yet." My chest cracked open, because this wasn't power play. This wasn't control. This was trust. This was him putting his name, his money, behind me, quietly, respectfully, without a headline screaming ownership. It was a gesture, an olive branch, a message. So I showed up at his place. Rain pouring, heart in my throat, palms sweating like I was about to confess a crime instead of the truth. He opened the door in a t-shirt. No smirk, no tie, no act. Just Asher. Raw. Real. "You saw the article," he said quietly. I nodded. "Are you mad?" "No," I said, stepping inside. He looked relieved. A little cautious, like he didn't know which version of me had shown up tonight. And maybe I didn't either. "I don't want to lose you," he said suddenly. My throat tightened. "You never had me," I said softly. He flinched. I stepped closer. "Until now." His eyes met mine, and I let it all drop. The fear, the walls, the pride. "I fought you because I didn't want to want you, because it felt like giving in, like losing." His hand found mine, slow, careful. "And now?" "Now," I said, "I just want to stop pretending." He pulled me in. This kiss was different. Not rushed, not reckless. It was everything we'd been holding back. The apology, the promise, the truth. We stayed like that for a while. Just being. No rules, no power games. Just two people who had clawed their way through denial and come out the other side. A few months later, the fake dating headlines faded. The rumored romance became something steady, quiet, private. And when people asked how it started, we'd lie a little. We'd say we met through work. We'd say it was simple. But every now and then, when no one was watching, he'd press his hand to my lower back, lean in close, and whisper, "Still can't keep my hands off you." And I'd whisper back, "Good, don't." If this story made your heart race and your enemies to lover's soul ache in all the right places, you know what to do. Drop a comment. Would you take a deal like this? Could you fake date someone you hated and survive? Hit that like button if you felt the tension. Subscribe for more dangerously addictive love stories where attraction is forbidden, chemistry is off the charts, and the endings are always worth the chaos. And don't forget to share this with your bestie who lives for slow burns, power struggles, and deliciously messy romance. See you in the next one.